Glad that you're with us here as we broadcast live from Starrcast. Good Karma Wrestling, along with Brian Rowitz, Jonathan Hood with you. Please be joined by the Blue Meanie. He is with us here.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as I do a little meanie dance.
That's not. I think we all should do a meanie dance. I think
it's all in.
It is.
It's all in.
I want to talk to you about your podcast first.
Oh, thank you.
The Mind of Meanie.
Mind of the Meanie.
Okay.
It drops every Monday wherever you get your favorite podcast. We talk about wrestling, music, movies, sports, and tons of useless knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I've had friends who said, "Oh, that's so many stories. You should just do a podcast." But I always like self-conscious is like, how do I do it? What do I do? What do I talk about? What's the format? This, that, and the other thing. And started it, and just got the ball's been going for like 2 years. Me and my co-host Adam Bernard, who he's a great host. He helps guide me through, and he makes it possible.
It's something that in that podcast I really like. You talk about certain buildings that you've wrestled in.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about like the first time wrestling ECW Arena, and like everything we heard about it, but maybe you could tell us some things that we don't know about that building.
Well, the crazy thing about the ECW Arena is I went there as a fan first.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch some of those old ECW shows, I'm in the audience. And then I went away to train with Al Snow for a year. And when I came back, I started doing independent shows, and I got invited to be a part of Raven's Flock. So the night I debut, I'm sitting in the crowd as a fan, which is kind of cool because that's what I was doing originally.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Stevie brought me over to Guardrail, that was kind of like, it's very ceremonial from me going from being a fan to crossing over the barrier and becoming a member of ECW. But the building, I mean, in the early days, it was just a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
In Philadelphia, we have this thing called the Mummers Parade. It's our New Year's, it's our Mardi Gras. And, every January 1st, we had the parade, and the people who owned the ECW Arena were the South Philly Vikings. They were a Mummers Brigade, and they would always do raffles. And the whole thing where the bingo comes from is they would do midnight bingo to raise money to, build floats, make outfits,
Mm-hmm.
everything that goes into that parade. They were doing fundraising and building floats where, like, if you see some of those early shows where, like, Steve Austin's walking through the curtain, it looks like a jungle. That was a parade float from the Mummers Parade.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool to go into that building as a fan, become a wrestler, and just to see the evolution of that building is pretty cool because it went just from being a warehouse, and now it's a fully functional entertainment center. Now it's the 2300 Arena. They do wrestling, MMA, concerts, whatever you got, and they just build a full functioning bar. And I'm doing a deal with them this football season where all Eagles home games, I'm going to go there and you can watch the Eagles football with the Blue Meanie.
That's cool.
So I literally live 10 minutes from there. I could walk there. So it's kind of cool to just be a kid from South Philly who got to become a professional wrestler. Not only did I debut for ECW in Philly, I debuted for WWE in Philly. I had my WrestleMania moment in Philly. So, if you did a movie about it, people are like, that's too corny. Yeah, that's not realistic. But it happens.
What's it like now looking back on ECW and seeing the way it's praised? And, when it comes to AEW, we hear one of the positives like, oh, it's like an ECW locker room. What's that like from your standpoint?
It's cool, man, because, ECW is still revered. It has its naysayers. Oh, it damaged the belt. Well, it didn't really damage the business. It's just wrestling is a copycat business. A lot of the things we did in ECW were done by people who had been in the business for a long time and knew how to use psychology with the violence. And a lot of times, we use the violence as the scissor reel to draw you into the building. But on the undercard, you see a Tracy Smothers, you see a Tommy Rogers, you see some really good technical wrestling. But to hear, people still talk about ECW, we're here at Starrcast, people still talk about ECW, ask questions about ECW. It's very flattering because, it only lasted 8, 9 years, and you see all these other companies that have come and gone, or are still around too. But people are always trying to make that comparison to ECW, which is kind of cool. But yeah, AEW is great. I got to do a show for them in Philly October 2 years ago, and the locker room was very cool, very welcoming. Had a great time. Got to do something with Joey Janelle and Crowbar. But yeah, just ECW was the Haley's Comet of professional wrestling. It only shined for a little bit, but everybody who got to witness it in person were forever changed.
Well, look, Meanie, I mean, the Honeymooners was 36 episodes, and people still talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So ECW will never die in the minds and hearts of people that's walking around here at Starrcast, because they loved what they saw. It was just it's going to not a 20,000 seat arena for a concert. It's a small concert, but you had the damnedest time, though, the greatest time.
Yeah, that's the good thing about like the ECW Arena or the Elks Lodge in Queens. The fans were right on top of you,
Mm-hmm.
so you felt the energy, And when the building's that compact and tight, one person reacts and it sets off a chain reaction. Whereas if you're in a building that holds a couple thousand people and there's people spaced out, nobody wants to be the first person to do a reaction, and people go, "Oh, look at this guy!" But you pack them in like that, break a couple fire codes, but just
different times. It was okay then.
Yeah. ECW Arena legally was supposed to have like 1,200, and we might have had like 1,700. Who knows?
That's the way it was.
But I always say ECW is like a family heirloom. The people who saw it live pass it on to their kids, and hopefully those kids pass it on to their kids. And it's because it's like the fine china. Instead of a good plate, oh, here's my ECW. I pass on to you. Take good care of it. So
the Eagles' window is wide open to be able to win multiple Super Bowls.
Hopefully.
Okay, well, I mean, it's so the reason why I admire the Eagles, and I've talked about this on my sports shows, is like we have a young quarterback in Justin Fields, and I say all the time, if he can get to where Jalen Hurts is going to be, he's in great shape.
Yeah,
and so because
he's dangerous, Justin Fields, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, we played you last year. Yeah. You guys weren't interested. You won the game. You clearly weren't interested in playing us. Yeah. But you won the game. It was a tight one, but it's just like for us, we just didn't have enough talent to take on your ball club.
Well, the Chicago Bears, handled Jalen pretty good too, because I think because they have to practice against Justin Fields all the time, they were actually able to not tame them, but that game was a little bit rough for the Eagles, and that's the game where Jalen hurt his shoulder, and he was out for the next 2 weeks. But no, I think the Bears are on the upswing. They got good talent. Justin Fields is great, but for the Philadelphia Eagles, as a fan like myself who's been through those lean years, to have two number one quality receivers, and they did really good in the draft, and we have a good GM, and then I think they still have some tricks up their sleeves until opening day. So we'll see what happens. I'm just very happy with the organization. I got to go to a training camp over the summer. That was pretty cool. I'm going to the Eagles-Patriots season opener.
Oh, wow.
So I have a friend up in New England who was able to score some tickets. So I'm very excited for it. I love football, but I hate that it makes my summer go by too quick because I'm a summer person.
Yeah.
So I love summer. I love when the sun's out till 8 o'clock, but I love football too, But we'll see what happens. I'm a sports junkie. I love I love the NFL. I love Major League Baseball. The Sixers are making it hard to follow them with the whole Harden drama. But and the Flyers, I think the soccer team has surpassed the Philadelphia Flyers in Philadelphia. So, but going back to ECW, back in the day, ECW was like the fifth sports team.
Yeah, it was.
And I was their Philly fanatic. Just it's Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, ECW.
You're out here at Starrcast for Ultra Pro Wrestling, talking about social media. What can fans expect from Ultra Pro Wrestling?
Ultra Pro Wrestling is going to be amazing. If you're an old school gamer like myself who loved No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, WCW Revenge, it's inspired by that. But the cool thing about this company is they're building the engine from scratch. And it's going to look a little bit more streamlined, but still have that feel of those games where there's a strong grapple, there's a weak grapple, there's a strong whip, there's a light whip, and build up into, hopefully get your finishing move in. Mm-hmm. But there'll be like a storyline mode, creative mode. Hal Haney, who's an amazing artist, designed all the original wrestlers that are in the game. Those are his creations. But also they're going to have downloadable content of Blue Meanie, Arn Anderson, Demolition. And then they got Demolition, but they also have their alter egos of Masked Superstar, Crusher Khrushchev.
Yeah.
And they got Canyon. Not only did they get Canyon, but they got his alter ego Mortis. So there's a lot of guys who are unfortunately no longer with us, but the families want the legacies to live on. There's Mortis, Chris Candido, Louis Spiccoli that we were able to get in the game. And there's plenty of other wrestlers who are going to be in the game that I don't want to spoil yet, but some people who have never been in a video game before are going to be in Ultra Pro Wrestling.
This is you giving back to wrestling. Is there anything else that you'd want to do? You've been a performer, you're doing this, you're always at these shows.
Yeah.
What else would you like to do before you're totally done with this?
I always like to be a producer, coach. I've coached. I have a couple kids out there I've coached. I coached Steve Macklin from Impact. He's one of my kids. Matt Riddle's one of my kids. Damian Priest is one of my kids. Ian Riccaboni, who does play-by-play for Ring of Honor now, he's one of my kids. Nick Camarado. I got a good batch of, and not that I get in the ring and roll around, but I like to do the more mental aspect of the business because you can have all the gifts physically in the ring, but wrestling is a mental business, and to be able to know what to do, when to do it, why to do it, and how to do it in the ring, but then also navigate the behind the scenes stuff too, because it's wrestling's the craziest business. I've heard all the stories from some of the best of like things they did wrong, and there's plenty of stuff I did wrong. If I could pass that knowledge on to a future generation and trying to help whoever wants to listen, you could talk all you want, but people have to be willing to listen and taking that knowledge and carry it forward.
What is your favorite part as a fan now watching pro wrestling?
Just, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, man. I just watched the Wembley show not too long ago. It's fantastic.
A few more people in the arena.
I'm sorry?
A few more people in the ECW arena.
Yeah. A little bit. But it was cool to, I could sit there and watch from a technical standpoint of being a wrestler, and then I can take that hat off and put my fan hat on and just watch it for what it is. And AEW's doing great, WWE's doing great, Impact's doing great, Ring of Honor's doing great. The only thing I wish is the tribalism of professional wrestling would just die down, because it's cool to like AEW and you can like WWE. Yep. Liking something more than somebody else doesn't make you better or worse. The worst thing you could do as a wrestling fan base is have infighting, because no matter who you like or what you do, people on the outside of wrestling think we're all goofy for liking wrestling in the first place. So why are we fighting each other when the rest of the world thinks whatever? We can just, if we all put our online personas and stop the bickering and get together and actually help promote the business as fans, the wrestling business can only flourish.
The reason why that is true, what you said, is because we both grew up in that era where it's ECW, WWE, and WCW. And I remember going to all three of those shows in the Chicagoland area or in the Midwest. There was never someone that came up to me and was like, "You're a WCW fan? I'll whoop your ass." No, we all liked wrestling for what it is,
Yeah.
and support support the business. There was never someone that came to me and was like, if you're a WCW guy, I'm an ECW guy, let's fight. Right. It never happened that way.
And I grew up diehard everything, and it wasn't until I got around to the guys who read the newsletters that were that's when I started hearing anti-WWE stuff. Mm-hmm. It's cartoon, they're killing the business. It's like, stop it. It's professional wrestling. It's its own thing. That's what's beautiful about it. It's got its own bound. It could create it. It could do this, and if you want to do something else, you could create a whole other boundary. It's live action TV, but it's also Broadway plays. You could go to the TV show and watch it on television, but you could go to a house show and it's a Broadway play. But pro wrestling is what it always will be, and it always evolve. People think people are always trying to reinvent pro wrestling, but the key of pro wrestling is two guys in the ring, one's trying to win and make more money than the other guy. That's how it should be approached, and two guys go into a ring, maybe they start off as baby faces, one gets frustrated and shows his emotions and does heelish things, just as long as you tell the story of who you are, why you want to win, how you're going to win, and you respect your opponent, but I respect you, but here's why I think I'm better, kind of thing. That's the beauty of pro wrestling, and it'll never change. It's been around forever, and the more things change, the more they stay the same. So.
Tell us about...
Ultra Pro Wrestling, social media. You said available on all gaming platforms. That's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, wherever you get your favorite video games, Ultra Pro Wrestling. It'll be out in late 2024. You can follow them on social media. Follow me on social media. I'm always plugging them. UPW Game, I believe, on Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. There you go. They're on all the social media platforms. They got a Patreon where you can get exclusive updates and stuff like that. But ultraprowrestling.com, go check it out. Check out the trailer that we've been playing all weekend. If you're an old school gamer like me, you're going to love it.
Glad you stopped by the table, my friend.
I'm glad you invited me.
Absolutely. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah. Go Birds.